Hi, I'm Bridget O'Connell with Chicago Field Studies. I'm a graduate assistant and a career advisor for students here at Northwestern. And today I'm going to spend some time talking to you as volunteers and help you prepare for providing great feedback to our students in our practice interview program. We say it a lot, but we absolutely cannot do this without your help and guidance. And students really do value the support they get from you each and every quarter. So the intention today is to make sure that you understand what our goals are for the practice interview program. We're going to provide some suggestions for how you can prepare, give you some questions to ask, and then give you some ideas of how to give effective feedback for our students. So just a note on the students that we have in our program. For some of these students, it's the first professional interview experience that they have. So you're giving them feedback really can help them develop both in the short term in the interview preparation, but also in their long-term career. So it is really important, and again, we thank you for helping. It's also intended to be a safe space for students to make mistakes and get their feedback to improve. I do want to mention the type of interview that we are helping our students practice for, because there are many different interview opportunities or many different interview methods out there, but we're focused on behavioral-based interview methods. So the idea here is that employers will seek experiences from a student's past to predict their future performance. Students are not expected to have all the exact skills necessary for each internship they're looking to work in, but they are expected to be able to discuss some specific experiences from their school, extracurriculars, and work as appropriate, and really show that those are transferable skills for the job that they're going for. So with that, here are some ideas of how you can prepare. When you get your confirmation or confirmed schedule, we're going to share with you a sample agenda and questions. So we encourage you to look those over, and I'll talk through how to use those most effectively. We're also going to give you a feedback form that you can use to not only document the feedback for students, but also share that feedback really immediately with the students after the interview is done. So as you prepare, there's a couple things to look for. One, in the email, you will get a list of each student and their interests. Some are going to provide a specific company name in their internship interest, and some might provide a more general idea of what they want. Don't feel like you have to have knowledge or experience in the field that they're looking to work in, but it just gives you some sense of the type of field or industry, because we do have students that work in every industry and field and major in every discipline here at Northwestern. The other thing we encourage you to do is review the student's resume. So you can use this to get a sense of the student's background, but also you'll have it available to you during the interview to make sure that the student is covering a variety of their experiences and not just focusing on one thing that they've done in their past. With that, you can also prepare a list of questions based on the students' both their stated interest and their resume background. So with the sample agenda and questions for CFS students, you'll see it split up by business, by public health, by a variety of disciplines. Feel free to create your own questions. That way you're comfortable asking it and it's a natural dialogue. So now, talking more about the questions to ask, we really encourage you to start with a very general question, tell me about yourself. Now you can tailor that to ask a more specific question, such as, tell me about why you chose your major and your field of interest. What are you planning to do after graduation, and how does this internship support that? Or tell me how this internship matches your current studies and your long-term career goals. Something along those lines that really helps the student articulate the goals of why they're looking to intern. Not only will this question often come up, but it also helps the student articulate and tell a very general story that can be used not only in their interview, but as they continue to meet people and network in their field. This is really helping them with their long-term career success, not just this short-term interview process. So based on the sample list that we talked about, make sure that if you do ask questions, tailor it to elicit some kind of specific experience. And based on this behavioral-based interview that we mentioned before, the typical way to ask it is, tell me about a time when, right? That's really helping to pull out and draw out that experience, that specific story from a student. At the end of your questions, also ask the student what questions they have for you. Now, we don't expect you to be an expert in the job they're looking for, and you don't even have to necessarily answer these, but the idea here is to have the students practice asking these questions that are sincere and appropriate, that they would ask at interview when they're looking for their internship. So a lot here, but the last thing you want to cover, which is probably the most important, is how to give effective feedback. As we mentioned, this is a chance for students to practice, do well, but also it's a safe place to make mistakes. So I'm going to give you some ideas of what to look for so you can provide some very targeted feedback to the students. One, in their opening, look for students to share a brief synopsis of their education, their work experience, their interests, and how they'll apply that to the role that they're interviewing for. In the behavior-based questions and answers, look for students to use the STAR technique. This is something we encourage them to think about, and it's a very standard interview practice across all industries in interviewing practices. This stands for the student should be describing the situation, the task at hand, the actions that they took, focusing on their role, and the results. And they often will follow up with their lessons learned, or the L, I'll add on to the STAR, especially if the story ends in a failure. And sometimes you do want to hear how the students didn't have a perfect ending, but what did they learn and how would they change over time? So look for the STAR, and then what did they learn? As you're providing feedback, make sure it's specific, constructive, and supportive. So I would start by asking them, what do you think you did well? What could you improve upon? And then follow up with some specifics. And I definitely encourage you to start with something positive, follow it up with something constructive, and if you can wrap it up with something encouraging, we think that's the best way of giving feedback that they are going to take and look to improve upon. So specific things you could look for is, when can they be more descriptive in a story? Are they taking ownership? Are they talking about an experience, or are they using things like, I would do this, or I would do that? Or are they not taking credit for the work that they did and relying on a team and not focusing on their own ownership of the results? So those are the types of things we look for. So giving them an idea of how they can improve that answer. And then at the end, really, we encourage you to emphasize that they have tools and resources beyond that one practice interview, and that we really do believe in them, that you believe in them, that they can improve, that they're going to get that internship that they're seeking, that the entire CFS team is behind them. Because at the end of the day, if they have that confidence, they're going to do better. We absolutely believe that. So with that said, again, thank you for listening. We encourage you to reach out to the Chicago Field Studies team at any time to ask for suggestions for how to make sure you're giving feedback. The last thing I want to mention, as you do go through the practice interview, consider the time. 30 minutes goes quickly for you and the student, so do work with the student to make sure you're keeping that 30 minutes on task, because that's common for interviews as well. And do give the student the feedback in the session. You can write it down and give it to them to keep, or you can share it with them verbally. With that, thanks again, and we appreciate your time and your help. And all of our students will learn from this process and hopefully get great internships as well.